Hello, and welcome to the Chris's Basement Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm the basement.
And the basement's name is Gustav. Today, we're here to discuss Gustav's class project. Yeah, this should be fun.
Yeah, it's a book called The Professor and the Madmen by Simon Winchester. I mostly got it for the author's last name because really nice TV show.
Yeah.
Called Supernatural. But oh well, it was also a really good book, by the way. Read it. Totally read it.
It sounds interesting, although there have been some horror stories told to me of this book.
Yeah.
Including something about a Brazilian penis-biting fish?
Let's gloss over that and move on. Anyway, my project is basically to make a podcast about my thesis. And Chris here is going to ask me a couple questions.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knows nothing about the actual book, because he hasn't read it.
Well, I mean, there's only like 200 pages of content, and you basically relayed to me most of the facts.
True. But yeah, I am the expert here.
Again, still super weirded out by the fish.
Yeah, I bookmarked it just for that, just to show you that. Because I was just like, I had this really weird face going. I'm just like, what is this? Oh my god. Anyway, ask away those questions I totally didn't write for you.
Okay.
Totally did.
So, apologies if this seems like it's slanted towards his thesis. I in fact did not write them. So, during the novel you read, what were the... What does that even say? Indications? Hey, come on, I'm reading it. The indications that W.C. Minor was a complex character.
Okay.
Does it actually say indications?
Yeah, it says indications.
Woo!
Good. Nice. For one thing, a good indication is that he was an actual real person, and all real people are complex characters because they're not written by someone, they actually live through their lives, which is the main reason, which is his past, that makes him a complex character. The beginning, it kind of makes him look a bit like a villain, because he was like, he just kind of shot this guy in cold blood, and he's like, yeah, that happened. He actually has a nice little quote. Someone asked him, like, did you shoot this man? He's like, it was a man, he said with a tone of disdain. You do not suppose I would be so cowardly as to shoot a woman?
That's sexist. You should shoot everyone indiscriminately.
Yeah, of course. And this was like in the 1860s, so yeah, that time was very sexist. That kind of just also, that highlights a part of his past, which was his time in the island of Ceylon, Ceylon, if you want to look it up.
Huh?
And
Ceylon? That's... I always thought of that as just a weird pronunciation of Ceylon.
It could be.
I don't know, but I didn't realize it was spelled differently.
Okay. But yeah, like, he had a massive, like, lust for women and sex at that point. And he was only 13, but that kind of, like, scarred him for the rest of his life.
So he was a teenager.
Yeah, but, like, he continued into it. Went to a lot of brothels and stuff.
So he was an adult.
No, shut up. But yeah, another cool part of his past that, the reason he's a complex character is basically because he has multiple archetypes put onto him throughout his life, and they develop throughout to end up with him being kind of both a hero and a villain at the same time, and then just kind of withered away and died. As we all do. It looked like you were going to make a comment there.
Something about being condemned to the void. I don't know, there was a joke in there. I cannot think of it for the life of me.
It doesn't matter. But yeah, like, at the beginning of his life, like, his mother died of consumption at 3, and him and his dad and some of his brothers and sisters, they just, like, traveled around the Caribbeans, and they're kind of missionaries. So we had a pretty crappy, like, early life.
Clarification. His mother died of consuming what?
It just said consumption. I'm assuming alcohol.
Alcohol, drugs, whatever.
Or, like, a whole marijuana.
She injected a whole marijuana. Precisely.
She drank one.
Drank one. Pardon me.
It's consumption, man, not injection. Anyway.
I mean, that's consuming.
Yeah, but, he also, like, he was a really academic guy, which you can tell, like, you saw how he was academic in, like, the asylum, like, many years into his future, and the reason why he was so academic was because he went to, like, Yale University, which was, like, the big university, and studied really hard, and then he went to become a surgeon, and then he went to the war, where he kind of lost his marbles. And this is the main part which makes him a complex character, because there's certain, like, key moments in his life that make him go absolutely crazy.
I mean, the war is like the worst place to go if you want to hold on to your marbles. Like, I don't know, it seems like you drop them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he already had a pretty weak mind to begin with. He was a really, like, kind of like a gentle guy. He wasn't, like, really that angry. He just, like, a pacifist kind of. He's like, oh, yeah, I just like to help people. He painted watercolors. He played the flute. I mean, if you play the flute, you are a massively just calm individual.
Yeah, just in general, either metaphorically or literally, the war is the worst place to go to hold on to marbles.
Yeah, and especially the one he went to was called the War in the Wilderness.
Huh.
And it had, like, the worst terrain ever. Cavalry and artillery couldn't even, like, do anything. It was just, like, dense forestry and, like, brush, which someone decided to set on fire. So there was, like, thousands of people inside this bush burning alive and getting stabbed to death by bayonets. Stop laughing, Chris. God damn it. But, like, the gruesome, like, sights that he saw helped to, like, unhinge his mind a bit. I mean, imagine you see someone who's been shot, stabbed to death by a bayonet, and then burnt alive.
I mean, that seems just unnecessary.
Yeah, it's kind of overkill.
Like, at a certain point, it's like, he's dead. We get it.
And a big part also was the Irish, who kind of were there because they wanted to get training to defeat the British. Because they kind of, you know, the IRA and stuff.
Wait, so where was this war? Because I can't imagine Ireland having, like,
This was the American Civil War. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
Okay.
American Civil War, 1860 to 1865. I know that because American history.
Yeah, okay, just, like, I don't imagine Ireland as having, like, full-on wilderness.
Yeah, it's just kind of like rocky highlands.
Yeah, like, out in the Irish wild.
Goats. And the McConaways. And the McDougals. And etc. Okay, I'm gonna stop it now. But yeah, a lot of the Irish people decided to do, like, to desert and stuff. And our doctor, or surgeon, W.C. Minor, who was, like, kind of pretty good at his job, so, like, he got promoted to captain, but he had to actually brand a Irish deserter, so he had to put a massive, like, metal D into the... Chris, don't laugh. God damn it. Into, like, hot coals until it was, like, red hot, and then put it on the deserter's cheek until it, like, bubbled and sizzled with the flesh.
Ooh.
And
damn.
That was probably the main reason why he was completely afraid of the Irish for the rest of his life, and they went into his delusions.
Wait, so he was afraid of the Irish?
Yeah.
After having, like, totally damaged one. Like, did he
Because he feel like they'd be out for revenge.
Oh my god. I was about to jokingly say, did he think that they were out for retribution or something?
He thought that for a good, like, decades.
I think, if anything, the Irish would be more afraid of him.
I mean, he was a madman. You can't really, like, logicize some things.
Fair enough.
Okay, I think that... I mean, from what you could see, he's a pretty complex character. Like, he goes from villain at the beginning, from what you see, down to tragic hero, and then up to kind of villain/hero. I haven't explained that part yet, but it's basically after he got charged for murder, and then they found him literally insane, and then they put him into an asylum in Broadmoor. You could see that during the day he was still an academic person. He loved his little pursuits of, like, painting, of playing the flute, and all that stuff. And he just seemed like a really nice guy, especially when he started helping the editing with the dictionary. Because then, like, he was kind of considered a hero in some sense, because he was the biggest contributor to the actual English dictionary, which he helped for, like, 30 to 40 years by himself almost every day, cooped up in his little, like, cell. But, like, in the villain side, you could tell because, like, during the nights, he'd have visions of people... I should probably actually find a quotation for that. I actually know the page. 159. Let me find it. 159. That's 149, Gustav.
So close.
Thank you. He was complaining that small pieces of wood were forced into his lock, that electricity was used on his body, that a murderous lot had beaten him during the night and had left savage pains all over his left side. And he said, they used my body in a very dirty business. So, yeah, he had a lot of a lot of like visions and stuff. One of them, like, he got kidnapped and put on a plane to another country where he had to do lewd acts to other people and stuff. So he was very imaginative in his like madness during the night, which made him like in the morning people were like afraid of him because he would like yell, scream accusations at people, but then he suddenly calmed down.
He was imaginative. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, that's terrible.
Chris is just here to ask questions and make puns. I mean, that's what he's here for, really, all the time, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you could tell that, like, from his experiences, he grew up into a complex character where, like, he almost had a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Or is it Dr. Hyde and Mr. No, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he had kind of a good side and a bad side, which is really cool. Anyway, on to the next question.
Just a quick comment, but, like, this is why real people are so difficult to make into characters, because it can be so inconsistent until you like understand who they are to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. Like, some people do things that are completely out of character a lot, but in books you like never see that, because that would just kind of make the character confusing for readers to understand.
Yeah. Now you'd have to read over one of those like 600 question long questionnaires about each character and try and understand everything that drives them.
Yeah, because like their paradoxical like actions and stuff would be because of like some minor past experience, which probably wouldn't be shown in the text for a fictional character, because probably haven't even thought up that part yet.
So let me find the second question. How is he both a villain and a hero?
I think I covered that a decent amount actually already in this one.
Yes, but you need to use the allotted time to speak of it.
True.
Also, how does... Nope, never mind, that's question 3. You just only numbered 2 of them.
Yeah, true. Anywho, how? I promised myself I'd say that in this podcast, and I did. Yeah, W.C. Minor, I said he was a victim in the film already because of his delusions, and it really also plays the part, like, these like things plagued him for basically after the war his entire life without any stop. So like he would hurt people, and like one time I'm pretty sure, let me find, it was in the summer in Florida actually, where they decided to finally put him into detention for doing something pretty bad to one of the people. You know, I can't actually find it right now, I'm sorry, but I have no clue what page that is. But he was kind of violent and stuff, and like you could see some other parts of his life, like his lust for women drove him to actually chop his own penis off, which
terrified me to hear about.
Yeah, is just because like he was just like thinking a way to solve the problem of him fantasizing about women and stuff like that.
And I mean, obviously the solution is just cut your own dick off instead of accepting who you are as a person.
Yeah. Passive aggressive Chris. Also like he like wildly accused people, all that stuff, and he was just a very unstable individual, but only during the night and like parts of the morning. Once he got into like his dictionary part stuff, like he even had like he paid a servant to help him, which was another roommate. He was nice to them. He taught people how to play the flute. He made beautiful watercolors, which I looked up a few online, and they look pretty damn good, even in like kind of black and whitish, which is surprising.
I suppose it'd have to be black and white because like it's forever ago.
Yeah, and they probably would have been able to find some like original paintings of him.
Yeah, it would have been more faded probably.
Yeah. And like another testament to how nice and good he was during the day was the wife. He actually like befriended the wife of the person he murdered. Like she forgave him, and they kind of became friends, and she would actually give him books he ordered, and like she'd visit him many times.
Kind of a non-sexual Oedipus.
Okay. I didn't read that book.
I guess it's close enough.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, I just love how there's like a massively stark contrast between him in the day and him in the night, which actually is a bit strange because it sounds a lot like a fictional character instead of a non-fiction character, just the way his madness works.
I'm sure it was fictionalized a little bit.
Well, yeah, because like the writer Simon Winchester, he wrote this magnificently, but you'd have to add in some parts to make it feel more personal and stuff instead of just like a recounting of the story.
That's where the difference between a history lesson and a novel comes in.
Yeah, yeah. And this was under biography, so like the characters are the most important part in a biography because it was a dual biography.
Like the biography section in which store, because chapters had some manga under pregnancy and childbirth, so I don't trust them anymore.
That is true.
Seriously, like all of One Piece and Naruto, it was very strange. Somewhat unsettling.
Yeah, anyway, can we actually go to the next question? Because I'm pretty sure we're actually a decent time right now.
Absolutely. Okay, so...
This one's the harder one, I think.
Yes, much harder to read. Oh, sorry, are we talking about difficulty to answer? Okay.
Okay, like in both sense. It's like you have to look deeper into it, especially into the writing.
Okay, I'm gonna try to read this. I feel like I'm reading it wrong, but how does this give of the thesis that you stated at the beginning?
Crap, I didn't state the thesis at the beginning. Okay, let me just state the thesis right now.
Woo! Okay, here we go. He says as Gustav just leaves. Hey, he's back!
Yeah, I'm back. I just had to find my laptop, which has thesis. Sorry, Mr. Carmichael, but this is a very informal podcast in which I forgot to put my laptop in front of me for the thesis statement, which is right here. Don't worry. So, my thesis is, by looking at Simon Winchester's novel, The Professor and the Madman, through an archetypal perspective, one can see through W.C. Minor's development from villain to tragic hero, and finally to a parallel of both, that people cannot be judged at a first glance. Instead, one must observe them for a long period of time, and one must know their past. So that's the thesis. And what was the question again?
Again, I'm pretty sure I'm reading this wrong, but how does this give of the thesis that you stated at the beginning? Gustav's making a disgusted face looking at the paper now.
You know, I'm not even sure what I meant by this, but I'm pretty sure, like...
How does it relate back?
Yeah, how does it relate? How does W.C. Minor relate to the actual thesis? Well, W.C. Minor is a great example of real people with complex development and the reason and kind of shows the reasoning behind why people are who they are, and it really kind of helps people understand that you can't just look at someone's face value, like what they're doing at that exact moment, their attitude, maybe just everything about them. That's in like a couple minutes maybe that you met them, and they might be having a bad day, they might be having a great day, you never know. You'd have to be able to stay with them for a long time, like with, in fact, the wife. The wife of the person that W.C. Minor killed. She probably thought W.C. Minor was like a raving lunatic murderer person the first time she met him at court or something. But after like a couple months of him living in the asylum, she found that he was actually a nice person, and just his like nightly ravings was the reason that he killed her husband, and it wasn't actually him who did it, really. And yeah, like...
So I guess they can kind of bond over both being kind of victims of his alter ego.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it. But yeah, like also
I occasionally know things.
Occasionally, mostly about music though. But yeah, like also like knowing people's past will help you understand how they get to that point that they are right now. So like, let's say you met someone and they're just really grumpy and annoying at you. Maybe their kitten died like the night before, and they just don't want to deal with people. Like that's kind of the same sense with W.C. Minor, but in a completely different kind of sense, actually.
An alternate version of that is usually when my kittens die, I'm just kind of in tears for a few days and just don't speak to anyone. I don't act all grumpy about it.
Well, maybe you just want to be alone and grieve in peace, and then this one guy comes up, hey, do you see the new episodes of Walking Dead? I know who else is dead.
God damn it.
But yeah, there's kind of a parallel to that to W.C. Minor. Like, if you didn't know that, like, he was a really peaceful individual until he went to the war, and it kind of just broke him, and he's actually just a really pitiful character, actually. I said actually way too much. He's just really a pitiful character. You might have a different perspective on the murder that actually happened in London, which I probably should have like kind of elaborated on. It's London around, I think, 1860 something. So it's not too hard to tell. Let me just go to the very beginning of The Professor and the Madman, which I have in my possession at the moment.
Hence why he can quote a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah, it's in the Victorian section Lambeth, and it's in about 1872, which is pretty good to know, I guess.
You were so close.
1860s, 1870s, who cares at all?
I mean, one of them had the Civil War.
Not in Britain. They didn't care.
Everyone kind of cared.
Yeah,
People were going to join the Confederacy for a bit until Abraham Lincoln totally made it about slavery, and people were like, "Damn, I can't actually do this anymore. Otherwise, I look like a terrible person."
The only reason the Irish actually didn't like the Emancipation Proclamation, because they're the lowest on the social ladder with the African Americans, but now their natural advantage for being white didn't really help.
Womp womp.
And also, now that Britain wasn't backing the Confederates anymore, they didn't have much reason to hate the Confederates, because they just hate Britain. That's just kind of a timeless kind of thing.
Yeah.
Potatoes. Anyway, sorry for going on a little tangent there, but yeah.
Sorry, tangent about potatoes.
That was just a small tangent, but yeah,
It's a podcast. It happens.
It's a podcast. It's also informal. I'm really glad it's informal. Because
Actually, I should probably check to make sure that was on the rubric, because I know it was on there for blog post, but...
Oh, God. Oh, crap.
Keep going.
Yeah, but, yeah, his past... Everyone's past affects their present. And if you don't know someone's past, you don't know how they got there. So you really can't judge them by that. And W.C. Minor is obviously a great comparison to that, and I know I've been, like, using him as a massive, like, piece of evidence for that, but it's literally in my thesis that I use him as the main piece of evidence. Okay, 1 second. And I'm back. Chris has gone a little bit away right now, for about a few seconds, but...
Making sure it is, in fact, informal.
Okay, we're just checking that, going through the facts. A couple things you might want to know about him is, like, he went into the asylum at 37 and died in the asylum. Well, not that one, but he died in an asylum in America. So he's lived 2/3 of his life in the asylum, where he helped just make the Oxford English Dictionary.
It is in fact informal.
Okay, that's great. So, the last question, which I actually kind of remember...
Well, come on, I get to do so.
Okay, Chris gets to do something, other than make puns.
I'm useful, okay.
Yay!
Oh my god, I'm regretting this so quickly.
Yeah, that's the worst one.
Are there any other instances where people are falcon at face, valve, what?
Are taken
Boolean.
at face value?
That makes so much more sense. Without looking at their past of gymnastics,
Without looking... Are there any other instances where people are taken at face value without looking at their past, or, I don't know why it says of, or giving them a chance? Sorry.
Where did gymnastics come? I'm so confused.
I don't know.
Like, what is this word?
Giving them.
That makes so much more sense.
Okay, he has had an epiphany about my
life
writing.
Is forever altered.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll come into your past and experiences.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, I really hope me turning away doesn't actually change too much of the volume. It probably will.
A bit.
Oh well.
That being said, it takes away from the proximity effect, which is nice because you don't want to always be talking like this.
True. Anyway, there's a lot of instances in history where people did that. Like, take right now with the Israeli crisis for the immigration and stuff. People are taken at face value. They're like, oh, they're Muslim. They're terrorists. Let's not let them into the country.
To be fair, only idiots say that.
True.
I mean, what? That is an opinion, but... Are we allowed to put total opinions in...
Well, we can back it up with evidence. Just take Donald Trump.
Fair point.
Zing. Yeah, like, a lot of people, they don't know the past of like the Syrian crisis, how it's literally in civil war, people are dying on the streets.
Yeah, like people only started caring about that when they were like, oh, a picture of a dead child. I understand this.
Yeah, like you shouldn't need to have a picture of a dead child to be able to relate to massive suffering of an entire country. And it's been going on for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's crazy long.
And like there's almost 1 million people, and people are being pushed away just for the fact that they're Muslim or they're from the Middle East, and they're just kind of like profiling people all into one group.
There was legitimately a video of 2 Brazilian people who were just filming a YouTube video, and a woman comes along and starts shouting at them for being Muslim in America or something, and they were just Brazilian.
Yeah. I know it's a bit more into like the racial and religious kind of stereotyping, but it's still, you can't judge someone by their face value. If they're Muslim, that doesn't mean they're evil. I know that's a massive like kind of, that's a bit extreme, but like still, people who wear hijabs or something are instantly like mysterious and kind of like ominous characters or something.
And it's like, no, that's just what they choose to do.
So, like, if you maybe talk to them, befriend them, talk to them for a couple months, they might be assholes. You don't know. But they might be just nice people who are just trying to, like, live their lives. And, like, also, like, their past and stuff will obviously shape what they are. So maybe some people there who are, like, some of the Syrians who are, like, violent and scared probably are because they've been mistreated by their government and by everyone they've met. So they just assume there are no good people left in the world. So you kind of got to give them a chance as well. Yeah, anything to add?
Was this the actual question that we're supposed to be answering, or
Yeah,
are we just going off about politics
No, well, it's still...
and the general human condition?
Well, true, but it's still kind of a way to say that, like, people are complex, they're not just face value. So you have to know a bit about their past experiences and just, like, their, like... You won't be able to know their entire, like, personality just by, like, a couple glances on TV, let alone, like, in person and stuff, too.
Mm.
Which is... And we gave some examples.
Yeah.
Like it's happened so much in history, like... 1940s with the Jews. Oh, no, they're gonna steal all our money just because they work hard.
Oh, that reminds me of, there's like a principle, I believe, in psychology that's the longer a conversation or debate goes on, the more likely someone is to bring up the Nazis.
Really?
Yeah, especially with arguments, it's usually comparing the opponent to Hitler eventually. Like, the chances of doing that goes up procedurally over time.
Yeah.
Like,
Or, like, even if he's really, really nice, one could say he's the opposite of Hitler or something.
yeah, I don't know, just like that stuff is so deeply embedded in our culture.
Yeah.
Because we love to take just bad stuff that other people have done and focus on that and be like, this is the true evil in the world, and we've never done any bad stuff.
At all. Like, even Canada, the Japanese, like,
The
confinement
First
camp.
Nations people.
Oh, yeah, we don't... Yeah, those schools... I'm doing a quote-unquote symbol here because they were not really schools.
I mean, the only way that we were better at treating them than America was we didn't outright slaughter people, but still...
We forced them to take Christian religion and act like a white person
yeah,
in schools.
just...
Which only heightened the amount of like drugs and alcohol and beatings that happened in like First Nations sanctuaries because they were beaten in the schools as kids. So they're like, oh, this is the way to do parenting and stuff.
Yeah, residential schools were somewhat of just a colossal mess.
I realize we've gone a bit off tangent right now.
It all relates back.
Well, yeah, I guess it does.
This is a nice question because we get to just complain about everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically... Judging someone by face value is basically, like, been in human history for basically ever. I know I said basically way too much there, but basically, yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add?
I'm not really sure. We can relate it back just to W.C. Minor.
Yeah, make sure you do that.
Yeah, like, we could just finalize it with...
Because marks.
Yeah, marks are important because this is my accommodating task. And I want to this is my grade 12 mark. I want to keep it above an 85, maybe, if I can. But yeah, like, just W.C. Minor. He was just like any other person when he was growing up, mostly, but it just, the things that happened to him were the reasons why he became what he was, and you shouldn't be so angry at him as more pity towards him. And he still actually turned out to be a better guy than most people, despite his condition. Anything else to add, Chris?
Just a question. Would you say that this novel takes a clear stance on the topic of nature versus nurture? Or would you say that it focuses on nurture but doesn't back away from who he is essentially?
Okay, nature versus nurture. I think it focuses...
who someone is versus how their experiences have affected them.
I think it's a bit of both, actually, because the nurture part obviously was because of the things in his life where he had to, like, move around a lot as a young kid, going to missionaries and stuff, and how, like, seeing all the girls and stuff in a younger age drove him to that, and his mom dying at 3, and the war, a lot of stuff that made it really hard, but also a bit of nature because the disease he had, like, he was born with a fragile mind, and the events that happened throughout his life just kind of broke down the wall bit by bit until he was just completely broken. So it was a bit of both, actually.
Yeah, so instead of one or the other, it's how they interplay with one another?
Yeah. Which is what it should be, really. Nothing is absolute, especially in life. That's only in books and, like, media. I was going to go on a massive tangent there. I'm going to stop. But yeah, like, I think that's about it, actually.
Okay,
This concludes podcast, hopefully one of many, but probably not on this subject, from Chris's Basement. I was Gustav.
I was Chris's Basement.
I'm still Gustav, but I was Gustav in the podcast.
Okay.
Anyway.
And this has been the Chris's Basement podcast.
Okay.
And now, have we mentioned our sponsor for this week? Because Audible has over 150,000 books. Check them out at audible.com/Chris's Basement podcast.
Please don't try that. You'll just get sent to, like, an illegal site. And
no, it's just gonna 404 on you. It is still audible.com, just there's no link.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Sean Carmichael.
Yeah, he keeps doing imitations of Sean Connery every time that he says your name.
Yeah, it's from a TV show called Chuck. You should check it out, actually. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay, apparently not Sean Connery.
Well, I mean, he's making it a Sean Connery voice in the show.
Okay.
Carmichael. Charles Carmichael. Yes. Junior. Anyway, sorry. This has gone along way too long. This is me. I'm signing out. Bye.
Bye. And always remember... Bye.
Source for this podcast was in fact the book by Simon Winchester, The Professor and the Madman. My opinion and Chris's opinion are my own, and we also used some sources from the news in our last section of the podcast. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.